Well, suspected Israeli airstrikes in southern Syria have killed at least 10 members of a small jihadist faction which is linked to Islamic State. The British-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says that the strikes hit a town just east of the Golan Heights. Now, the 10 fighters were killed along with 2 women believed to be the wives of fighters from that faction. And the strike hit a base belonging to the group, which has pledged allegiance to Islamic State. Meanwhile, the worst violence of the Syrian civil war is winding down. Bashar al-Assad's government forces have reclaimed large areas of rebel-held territory, and Islamic State has been pushed out of Raqqa and some of its other strongholds. And now the reconstruction begins. Almost every destroyed bridge, road, building, and power plant will be a chance for a potentially lucrative government construction contract, which the regime will start handing out soon. And the majority of these contracts are likely to go to firms linked to Russia and Iran, which support Assad. Joining us to discuss is Matthew Brodsky, Senior Fellow at the Security Studies Group. Thanks for being with us. And lucrative reconstruction contracts in Syria likely going to firms linked to Russia and Iran. Not very surprising, is it?
No, the process has been actually long underway. And you have to understand that for the Revolutionary Guards, this is part of their plan to put themselves in Syria for the long term. They marry their economic ventures to their military ones. So they've already have a lease signed with Syria for 99 years for phosphate mines. They actually in January signed 5 memorandums of understanding. The same with Russia. As soon as they got into Syria, to, of course, back up Assad in 2015. It only took till April 2016 before they started making deals for reconstruction with Assad as well. And those are just set to increase as time goes on. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made. One can definitely bet on the fact that Assad is not going to be awarding contracts to people that were against him, nor does he have an interest in rebuilding areas or reconstructing areas where there were people who were against him.
Yeah, and that's been a big concern, and that he's not going to give support to areas where there were non-loyalists to him. Matthew, where is the money to pay for all of this reconstruction coming from?
Well, I mean, the Revolutionary Guards are basically a good portion of the Iranian economy. Luckily, the United States is in the midst of starting to sanction significant portions, if not all, of the Revolutionary Guards. And there are actually in the United States now 4 bills winding their way through Congress this week that will deal with aspects of Hezbollah sanctions and Revolutionary Guard sanctions. But of course, for Russia, they see it's a great opportunity for them to be within this axis against the United States. They need weapons. They're happy to sell them. They're happy to sell their S-300 and 400 missile defense anti-aircraft systems, and they're happy to do whatever they can to make money. Fact is, Assad is going to be paying back his overlords in Russia and Iran for the foreseeable future, and that's the future he's basically giving to the Syrian people. Right. All for him to just remain in office.
Yeah, it certainly ties up. Of course, U.S. companies are not participating, Matthew, but Chinese and Brazilian companies are also vying for some of these reconstruction contracts. Which other countries do you think are likely to be awarded some of that work?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me to see China take some of that. Their motivation has always been, whether it's Africa or the Middle East, money. That's the deal. They haven't gotten involved in the geopolitics. If it makes them money, then good, then that's what they do. And you know, they've also been voting in the Security Council along with Russia to right. You know, anytime that anything came up to prevent Assad's war crimes. So one can imagine they'd be rewarded in Brazil as well.
Matthew, with the construction work underway, so they're rebuilding, does this mean that they believe that the war is over? Has Assad effectively declared victory now?
Yeah, more or less. That's the reality. I mean, there's still economic spoils that are in the Deir al-Zor region, which is where the remaining battles are going on right now, and we'll see how that plays out. But that's definitely the case, and that means many things to many people, not the least of which to Israel. It means new rules of engagement as far as what they are and aren't allowed to hit in Syria. And that's changed throughout the years.
And that's a whole other topic, complicated as well. We'll have you back to discuss that. Thanks for now, Matthew RJ Brodsky, Senior Fellow at the Security Studies Group. Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right.